Breaking news.
Drama! Yes, drama when it comes to Manchester United.
It's all kicking off.
Man United won't break the bank for him. And if Man United won't break the bank for him, they've got other targets. In the words of Emperor Palpatine, should Manchester United do it? Should Manchester United do it? When it comes to transfers, when it comes to one possible signing ahead of the close of the January transfer window, could that one signing be the difference between having Champions League football next season and not having Champions League football next season? Could that little bit of just a little sprinkle of a midfielder or maybe even an attacking player, could that be the difference between finishing in that top 4/5 and not finishing in that top 4/top 5? Do you need to spend money to make money, in the sense that think of the financial windfall that will come with being in the Champions League next season? Think of the players, the pool of players that could be available to whoever is the next permanent Manchester United head coach in the summer. Think of your Elliot Andersons, your Adam Whartons, your Carlos Balebas. Are they going to be interested with Manchester United not having Champions League football? Should Manchester United and Ineos, should Jason Wilcox and Omar Barada go for that player, whether it is a Ruben Neves, whether it is someone else we haven't thought about just yet? Should Manchester United go after them, bring them in, and they can play a bit part role to the end of the season, but that bit part role could get Manchester United over the line? Or is it a case of there's no need to panic? Yes, Patrick Dorgu's injured. And yes, we're missing a left wing player now, but we've still got Mateus Cunha. We've still got options on the bench. We've still got Joshua Zirkzee to come in. He hasn't been on the bench recently. We've still got De Ligt to come back from injury as well. And we're only playing one game a week. We don't have the Carabao Cup. We don't have the FA Cup. We don't have Europe. So actually, is there any point? Would we just be bringing in a player that wouldn't be really playing that much anyway? Or is it better to be safe than sorry? What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts, as always, in the live chat, in the comment section below. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe to United View if you are new. And welcome, folks, to the Transfer View. It is Thursday. It is a solo-in show this morning. Let me know where you're watching from, what the time is, and what the weather is like, because you know that's tradition here. It's tradition here for the solo-in streams. You've got to let me know where what the weather is like. It was quite cold for me this morning. Quite cold for me. But the heating is on. Yes, I know. Apparently made of money. The heating is on. Little Miss Asher, she's got sore ears. So she's whinging and moaning all over the place. But how are you guys doing? Let me know in the chat. I can see people. Like Aslan says that, like it up. Yes, indeed. Dave says, glory, glory, Man United morning. Going, good morning. Hope you're doing well. Viz says, yes, 100%. Kristen says, morning all. IMO says, United has lost 100 to 100 million, 80 to 100 million, not being in the Champions League this season. Spending 20 to 30 million is well worth the risk. Wow. We shall see. We shall see indeed. Now, before, of course, we move on to what we need to move on to this morning, when we're talking about transfers, when we're talking about spending money to make money, it's almost investing, isn't it? It's investing into the squad. It's investing into the club. How about you invest into yourself? How about you invest into yourself when it comes to your health goals? How about you invest into yourself to make the best version of you in 2026? How can you do that, Owen? I'll tell you. Optimum.
Today's video is sponsored by our friends at Oxford Natural and their all-new natural supplement, Optimum Day and Night. Thousands across the UK, USA and beyond are smashing their health goals with Oxford Natural. Optimum Day gives you steady energy, curbs your cravings and keeps your metabolism firing all day. Optimum Night helps you relax, get restorative sleep, recover and keep burning fat while you rest. It's not a magic pill, but it will help you reach your health goals. Check out some of the incredible results. Two of our own, OWEN, lost over 100 pounds in 10 months and KG dropped 30 pounds in 4 months. In 8 months, football legend Michael Owen lost 35 pounds and Robbie from AFTV, Don Robbie, lost over 80 pounds. And in 6 months, Anita, an award-winning immigration lawyer, lost 44 pounds. And Linda, a law firm executive, lost over 50 pounds. No gimmicks, no needles, just results. Oxford Natural, let's get to work.
Yes, indeed. Let's get to work. You can scan that QR code right there and you can subscribe. You can subscribe. Fusion. You can subscribe and save up to 70% off. As always, the links in the video description below. It's pinned in the chat. You can get your Optimum Day, which is good for your weight loss goals. You can get your Optimum Night, which is good for your restorative sleep. You can get them individually or combined, any which way you please. The most important thing is that you can get Optimized. Yes, everyone together. Optimized today. Yes, yes, yes. And also, as was a big hit yesterday, Super Chats, of course, are not only welcome, but TTS is on. And I was talking to Flex about this yesterday. I was saying, I'll tell you what we can do now that we're introducing TTS when it comes to the Super Chats. Of course, green Super Chats and above, $4.99 and above. Not only do you get the little GIF that appears on the screen, but of course, we can change the sounds, which means today, and maybe it'll just be today, maybe it'll be for a few days for the rest of the week. We shall see. But for today, if you put in a green Super Chat or above, this happens.
Kev coins, they're worthless and silly. Kev coins, buy money freely. Kev coins, it's time to be crazy. Kev coins, where goes this fake money?
Kevin super chatted $42. This is a test super chat message.
Yes, it's a test Super Chat message. Yes. Yeah. And it's a different voice today as well. I told you we can change the voices as well. So it's no longer the posh British man. We've got an Australian bloke today. And you play Kev coins. Matty says this song is so bad. That's a hard disagree. Yeah, it's a smash hit as part of the OWEN catalogue. That's one day going to be sold for £1 billion. That's what it's going to be. It'll be sold for £1 billion one day. That's what it's going to be. So yes. Super Chats with TTS is on. Right. This morning, we are going to be talking about if indeed we are going to be getting any late transfers, if indeed it's going to be the difference between us getting Champions League football or not. We kind of spoke about this a little bit yesterday, didn't we? Saying it's difficult because of the names that we're being linked to, it doesn't really, whet the appetite, as it were, does it? You've got all of these talks about, Ruben Neves. That's one I go, okay, I can see that. But like Tyler Adams or who was it from? Was it Gomez from Wolves? There was the guy from Borussia Dortmund as well. And I think this is going to be one whereby, like I said, I think this weekend against Fulham will be very interesting to see how that plays out. Because if United get an injury, particularly to a midfield player against Fulham, then maybe they will act. Maybe they will see what happens in the last few days of the window to see if any player becomes available that's not currently available. And by that, I'm not I tell you now, I got a message from Flex last night. Let me read it out, actually. Let me read out this message I got from Flex last night. He says he was joking, but I don't know. In fact, he posted it actually on X as well, so I can actually show it. So it's even worse. He did it privately and publicly. Yeah. He said Sterling on a free till the end of the season as cover for Cunha. Nah, only joking. Silly move. Eyeballs emoji. Seriously, though, we can't do that. Now, what I would say to that post, Flex, and Flex might be watching. He's actually at the dentist this morning. First of all, I think there's a bit of bias there. Just call me crazy. I think there's a little bit of bias there. And this is how much of a flip-flop that Flex is. He's flip-flopped like twice in one post. Sterling on a free till the end of the season as cover. Nah, only joking. Flip-flop number 1. Silly move. Seriously, though, that's flip-flop number 2. There's two flip-flops in the same post by Flex. And he insists that he's not a flip-flop. Well, I say
it's time for Flex to flip-flop. Spinning round like a spinning top.
can't say the Amarin one. It's gone. It's gone. But then even someone says, Flex put down the rum. Goes, was only joking with the eyeballs emoji. Let me tell you this, yeah. Let me get back to this screen. He's not joking. I'm telling you, he's not joking. Now, he messaged that to me privately before he even posted that that thing on X. He said, Sterling on a free till the end of the season, cover for Cunha, and then put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Jamaica flags. And then said, nah, just joking. And I just responded to him by saying, I'm going to block you. And then I didn't respond to him for the rest of the night. And he sent me quite a few messages. I was sickened by it. Sickened by it. No, we are not going to get Raheem Sterling just because he is now a free agent. If you didn't see yesterday, they've come to a mutual termination of his contract with Chelsea. So he's free and clear to go anywhere. So he can, he'll go to a Prem club probably, one would think. I wouldn't be shocked if he stayed in London or something like that. I may end up going to like West Ham, maybe, or maybe I'll go to Crystal Palace or one of those kind of clubs, right? But we're not going to get Raheem Sterling. But there is this discussion, isn't there, about getting a left winger, considering the injury to Patrick Dorgu. Dorgu possibly out for 10 weeks, even though that 10 weeks it came from the Athletic, came from Laurie Whitwell. So, high tier source, certainly, no doubt about that. But there was then pushback from the club pretty quickly of, well, we don't know if it's 10 weeks yet. We're not putting a time frame on it. We never know. But Dorgu's going to be out for at least, well, looks to be, we're basically into Feb now, aren't we? So Feb, March. See, when you say it like this, when you go, Dorgu could be out until what? Sort of mid-April, maybe? Is that about right? 10 weeks? 10 weeks from now? What's 10 weeks from today, specifically? 10 weeks from today. Thursday the 9th of April. So you're looking at maybe early to mid-April for Patrick Dorgu. And because you're in January still, you go, bloody hell, that seems ages away. That seems a long time. Out of curiosity, actually, how many games does that mean he would miss? Because obviously we're not playing that much and there are gaps. So if, let's say it is, which game could he potentially be back for? Maybe Leeds or Chelsea. 11th or 18th of April. Let's be optimistic here and go 11th of April. How many games would he miss? He would miss 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games. And just think about what could be done during that 9 games. Now, look, it's not as if we don't have options. You bring on, we have been bringing on Mateus Cunha, not necessarily always for Patrick Dorgu, but Mateus Cunha, he's come on in the last few games, and my goodness me, has he impacted the game? So I don't think it's one of those ones where, we've got nobody now. We've got absolutely 0 people that can play in that position. We're absolutely screwed. It hurts because Dorgu's obviously been in fantastic form, but it's not as if we don't have options. It's not as if we don't have options. We do. And most likely, looking at the team that started the game against Arsenal, which of course was the same team that started against Manchester City at the weekend, this is where it does get interesting just in general, doesn't it? This is where it gets interesting just because, the team kind of picked itself against Arsenal, didn't it? Because we were playing a similar kind of setup, be a bit on the break, be a bit on the transition. But now, if you're looking at that team, who would you possibly change the weekend, considering it's at home at Fulham, different game, different circumstances, different setup, probably going to have a lot more of the ball. You could maybe see a situation where maybe you move Ahmad to left wing and put Mbumo there, put Šeško up front, or you just go, keep it the same still and just take out Dorgu, put in Cunha. You've still got, positive options on the bench. You've still got Šeško. You've still got Mason Mount. You've still got possibly Joshua Zirkzee to come in. Would like to have Mazraoui starting over Dallo at right back, to be honest, against Fulham. But maybe, and maybe this might be the game that Šeško does start up front. And if it is a game where Šeško starts up front, maybe, like I said, someone does switch over to the left and Bumo goes to the right. You know, it's not as if we are completely derailed by that Dorgu injury. It sucks. Like Spoda says here, it is a shame because he was playing so well and there was this feeling of just kind of unstoppableness about him with obviously with the goals that he's been scoring, but also the manner of his performances as well. It's not as if, like sometimes players, and this is always how you can sort of tell if a player's just on form as opposed to actually he's made genuine improvements in his game. Like sometimes where nothing really has changed that much about the player. They're just putting the ball in the back of the net. Maybe they're getting a bit of luck, right time, right place, that kind of thing. That's not been the case for Dorgu in these recent improvements in performances. It's not just that he's been scoring goals. You go, it's Dorgu again. It's like, well, no, he's deserving these goals when he's playing. He's playing really, really well. So that is really, really unfortunate for him. But do I think it will lead to United going, right, we need to go out and get another left winger in January? I still don't think so. And the only reason I say that is just because we're just not in any other competitions. Like Avalon says here, 2008 team, look who we had on the bench. It's healthy to have options. But that 2008 team, Avalon, was deep into a Champions League, deep into an FA Cup. Did they win the Carabao Cup that season? I think they might have, or they were always going deep in those competitions. Right? 2008 teams winning Champions Leagues. It's getting to FA Cup semi-finals or quarterfinals, I think. I remember we got knocked out by Portsmouth, didn't we? Rio Ferdinand had to go and goal. So this is just a different scenario when it's like, well, we have, how many games do we have left of this season? To be specific. How many games do we have left of this season? Let's have a look. Premier League. We have... so 23 games. We have 15 games. And it's not even because there's breaks coming up. It's not even as if it's one game a week because there's a period of time. I remember that the stat after we got knocked out of the FA Cup, there was the stat, wasn't there, that like there's a period of time from sometime in March to April where there's a period of like, I want to say like 5 weeks or 6 weeks, and we play like twice because obviously international break and we're not in any cup competitions. So it's not even like penny pinching, Glazonomics or anything like that. It just is one of those ones of like, does that actually make sense to go get a player on loan? Like basically, there is a fine line, I think, between getting a player that can help you get over the line because they'll be playing every week, but also you can also fall into the trap of just getting a player for getting a player's sake, which I think is something we want to avoid. Is like we were saying yesterday. All right, you can go get Tyler Adams or Wilfred Ndidi on loan. And you go, okay, that team that I just had up on the screen a minute ago, would he be playing in that team? Well, maybe if there was an injury, but most of the time, would he just be on the bench? Yeah. Would he maybe come on a couple of times? Yeah. Would there be some games he doesn't come on? Yeah. So you go, well, are we just getting a player for the sake of getting a player? Or is it good just to have? Is it good just to? I don't know. I don't know. It's a difficult one. I don't think we'll end up getting anyone, to be honest, unless something happens this weekend. Unless something happens this weekend whereby someone gets injured in the match against Fulham and it forces Man United's hand. Otherwise, I'm going to be honest, I just don't really see it. In terms of exits, a little bit more on Joshua Zirkzee. Still saying that Fenerbahce have Zirkzee on their transfer list. So Fenerbahce want a loan deal. Contacts United will begin soon. I don't see, again, I'm talking about incomings. You talk about exits as well. I don't see this one happening either, because I feel like if Zirkzee was to go, that would have probably happened already, right? And they kept, rebuffing the advances from Roma, and seemingly that was going to be a loan to a permanent, wasn't it? And still, he's at the club. He's not been on the bench recently. He's been injured. But I think unless, like I said, something changes this weekend with an injury, I think the mindset is this: we've got enough till the end of the season. If say Zirkzee really pushed to leave, or they could get a big transfer fee for Zirkzee, or just say a transfer fee maybe in general for Zirkzee, then maybe United go, okay, let's replace him. But even then, clearly they've got You know, clearly they've got a list of people that they would like, and if that person isn't available in January, maybe they're not going to do it. So, yeah, I just don't know if I see it. I don't know if I see us, you know, outgoings or incomings, really. I mean, significant outgoings and incomings. There might be a couple of academy players that go out on loan or something like that. Amanor says, would you recall Sancho as a left winger under Carrick? Mods, timeout Amanor, please. Amanor, it's too early in the morning for this. I'll go full screen. It's just, no. Amanor, no. Just, no. It's not even. I think occasionally I cast my mind back to that period of time in 2023, 1 week before the summer transfer window is going to end. And last game before the first international break of the season, we just lost 3-1 to Arsenal at the Emirates. And then Jadon Sancho puts out the thing on his notes page, and we just get chaos for however long. We get articles and this, that, and the other. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Not going back to that at all. Just no way. It's kind of, it was mad. It's kind of remarkable he's still technically a Manchester United player, Jadon Sancho. When you think about everything that has happened in these now 3 years, we're into 3 years, aren't we? I was in 2023, we're into 2026. And he's had loan moves to Dortmund, Chelsea, and Aston Villa. He is still a Manchester United player. Good grief. And, you know, he'll become a free agent at the end of the season. Right? He'll become a free agent at the end of the season. Still, technically, he's under contract to Manchester United. I don't know if we're paying any of his wages or not. I don't know if Aston Villa are covering all of his wages or the vast majority. I would assume so. But the fact that that is still a thing, he is still technically a Manchester United player. Oh my God! And you just also think about the whole. That really does have to be. You know, when you talk about some of the sort of the biggest, you know, flop transfers in Premier League history, look, Jadon Sancho's right up there. He has to be, you know, from a Manchester United perspective, just because of everything that went into that as well. You've got the sort of year-long pursuit, the initial going after him when he was at Dortmund, and Dortmund wanting over 100 million and setting the deadline. We didn't meet the deadline because Ed Woodward didn't believe it existed when it did. And then it doesn't happen. We go back the next year, we buy him for less. We're like, actually, it paid off. We bought him for less. And then it just never started with him. You know, he got an ear infection. And then during that season, Ollie gets sacked. Then Ralph comes in. Then Eric Ten Hag comes in. Starts okay. Then obviously had the personal stuff, was away for a while, came back. You're going, right, next season it's going to be the one. And then next season's when everything blows up. It just never started with him. And then just became a complete, total clusterfuck. And even so, he still hasn't managed to find a permanent home. Because he could have. What's crazy is with the Chelsea one as well. Chelsea wanted to keep him. They said, well, you can stay. You're going to have to you're going to have to get a contract in line with everyone else's where it's nowhere near as much as you're making, but you could maybe make that much if you hit your bonuses and stuff like that. And it was, no, I don't want that. Want to make sure I get get the money that I keep that I'm on at the moment. And then as far as what he'll do when his contract expires, it'll probably end up going back to Dortmund or something on a free, won't he? That's probably most likely, but he went back there to, be sort of happy after the Ten Hag stuff. So I think he'll probably end up going back to Dortmund or something like that. But to answer your question, Amanor, absolutely no fucking way. No. Yeah, no. And then also no to Sterling before Flex even starts any of that kind of stuff. And actually watch him, because he will start dropping that into shows. You know what I mean? And he'll start going, well, maybe, Sterling just like a like 6-month contract, maybe. Don't. Flex, just don't. No. Please, no. I wanted to show you guys this, because I saw this morning, And, you know, there's been so much talk recently, hasn't there, about ex-pros and what's their football knowledge like? You know, you should listen to them because they played the game. Obviously, they've got more experience than your average run-of-the-mill fan. But sometimes you hear things from pundits, ex-players, which make you shake your head and go, I know you played the game, but still, what are you talking about, right? This is Winner Stays On from ESPN by Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, right? Is he still a coach of England, or is he no longer a coach of England? Floyd. Is he still a coach of England? I forget. No, he's not anymore. He's assistant coach with Suriname. There you go. Not with England anymore. If you've seen, this is ridiculous, right?
Madueke or Martinelli?
Madueke.
Madueke or Sancho?
Madueke.
Madueke or Semenyo?
Madueke.
Madueke or Semenyo? First of all, he's gone Madueke. I've got a million buttons I could press. You know what I mean? A million I could press.
Now go home and smoke some more crack.
I mean, but it gets worse.
Madueke or Garnacho?
Don't care.
Garnacho.
But he went with Garnacho, who I'd probably rather have Madueke, by the way.
Neto.
Neto or Grealish?
Neto.
Neto or Doku?
Oof. Neto.
Pedro Neto over Jeremy Doku, by the way. Pedro Neto over Jeremy Doku. It gets worse.
Neto or Shirky?
Neto.
Rather have Pedro Neto over Riyad Cherki.
Neto or Ahmad?
Neto.
Neto.
You son of a bitch! Right? You would rather have Pedro fucking Neto than Ahmad. What? 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 Pedro Neto over Ahmad. I'm stunned. It must be, like someone said, it must be he misunderstood the question. Like, oh.
Neto or Mbuemo?
Neto.
Neto.
Sick of this shit. And fucking stream. He would rather have Pedro Neto than Brian Mbumo. When was the last time Pedro Neto scored 20 goals in the Premier League? When did that ever happen? When? When have you got someone like Brian Mbumo who's scoring goals against City, who's scoring goals against Arsenal? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Neto over Ahmad and Mbumo. And this is one of those ones where you go like, what do you know? Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, unbelievable player. No doubt about it, right? Unbelievable player. Great goal scorer. You know, great player in Prem history. But when I see stuff like this worries me that this guy was coaching for England under Gareth Southgate. This is why, actually, when you think about it, Steve Holland was doing a madness at England. He must have been doing a lot of the heavy lifting there, because you've got Gareth Southgate, you know, doing all this, you know, and you've got Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, who would rather have Pedro Neto than Brian Mbumo and Ahmad. Good grief.
Neto or Elanga?
Neto.
Neto or Anthony Gordon?
Neto.
Neto or...
By the way, he's not better than Anthony Gordon. You know, Anthony Elanga struggled this season, but holy shit. You would think Pedro Neto's the best player in the league with what he's saying here.
Or Bowen?
Neto.
Neto or Gakpo?
Neto.
Neto or Saka?
Saka.
Saka or Salah?
I don't care about the rest of the video, but holy shit. Oh my God. And I know that obviously people are going to let us Chelsea bias, but that's the problem, isn't it? You're there to be a pundit. You know what I mean? You're there to be giving your opinion. You're not there to be saying which team do you support. You know, if you're going to do that, then go on a fan channel. You know what I mean? You know, we're going to be here and We're going to be pretty biased, aren't we? We're Man United fans. This is a Manchester United community, the UV community. But to suggest Pedro Neto over Ahmad or Mbumo, like, what the flying fuck? Seriously. Oh, absolutely gross. How can you come to that conclusion apart from just like people are saying? It's just, well, I used to play for Chelsea for a long time, so I'm going to back a Chelsea player. And you know what? If he said that during it, just said, "Oh look, I'll always back a Chelsea player," so Neto, and go, all right, fair. But ridiculous. Fucking ridiculous. And that is when it's true. Like, you have to be, we almost have to be a bit careful, don't we? When we, as consumers of football programming or whatever, you're watching Sky Sports or you're listening to the radio or this, that, and the other, you don't always think it, but you do have to take it with like this pinch of salt of going, right, they're not going to be objective here, which for me kind of makes the point of them being there a bit redundant. You know what I mean? If you're not there, if you're there because you're meant to be providing analysis or you're meant to be providing, you know, your opinions of the game or of players or whatever, then do that. But you're not there to be biased and just say stuff because you used to play for Chelsea. You know, then just pick anyone be there to be there at that point, right? That's why even I get it when I'm still going back and watching the highlights of that Manchester Derby victory, and for the first goal, you know, the Mbumo goal, when Gary Neville's on comms, you know, you can hear him in the background going crazy, can't you? Going, go on, and then he starts screaming when Man United score. And as a United fan, I love that, right? I hear it in the background, and I'm like, yeah, you know, Gary Neville is like celebrating, like, you know, like we all are. But I can also imagine as like an opposition fan or a neutral, you don't really necessarily want to hear that, do you? You know what I mean? You're there to be impartial. You're there to be, you know, provide impartial analysis. And it just goes to show that they can't do it, apparently, you know. Then you just go, well, then why are you there? I don't know. But I thought I would show that one because that was absolutely ridiculous. If you haven't already, click the like button and be sure to subscribe to United View if you are new, so if we can get up to 200 likes. I wanted to talk about this because I saw it on DR the other day. The guys on the panel were having a discussion about who is the best midfielder in the Premier League. And big up to Nick. He's been on What the Devil before with the guys from United District. And he was there sort of flying the Manchester United flag, as it were, and was talking about possibly a certain Manchester United midfielder maybe being the best midfielder in the Premier League. I wanted to know what you guys thought about this. And no, Hungriest Alpaca, the answer is not Neto.
You think?
Yes.
So Rocket Ranks, where we rank something every day. We're going to rank best midfielders in the Premier League. You have a claim for number one, which I do not agree with whatsoever, but the floor is yours.
Should I give you my top five?
No,
Just the one.
Give us your top three.
Okay.
You know?
All right. Top three. Going probably Caicedo 3. Szoboszlai is very close to 3. Declan Rice 2, and Bruno Fernandes number 1. Who else?
Bruno Fernandes.
Who else,
Above
bro?
Declan Rice.
Who else, bro? Who else, bro?
Above
Who
Declan
else?
Rice.
Yes. And I'm not gonna lie. I'll be honest with you. And I've.
So would you agree with that? Would you agree? Is Bruno Fernandes the best midfielder in the Premier League? That is the discussion there. Now, this is my thing with this one. I think what it goes down to, what this boils down to, is what is Bruno Fernandes? What is Bruno Fernandes? Is Bruno Fernandes a midfielder? Or is he like a 10 or an attacking player? Because I always think a midfielder like, you know, middle of the park, does everything, you know, front, back, sides. But we had this discussion the other day, didn't we? Flex and myself going, he's a 10. But actually, when you think about it, there aren't like a ton of like 10s anymore in the Prem, are they? You know what I mean? There aren't a ton of like 10s in the Prem. Like that position's actually going a little bit out of style, which is kind of mad. Because when you, for instance, we go like a Bruno Fernandes versus Declan Rice debate, I don't think there's a debate there because I think they're totally different players. Like if you had both of them in your squad, you wouldn't be going, wow, it's going to be Bruno or Declan Rice playing, isn't it? They would both be in the team. I think if you're going to say the best 10 in the Premier League, it's Bruno Fernandes. You know what I mean? It's Bruno Fernandes. Ryan says De Bruyne was considered a midfielder, so why would that be any different to Bruno? Because I didn't see Kevin De Bruyne as like a 10 in the last, I don't know. Earlier in his career, he was a 10, but then I felt he went backwards and became a much more of a sort of deeper lying midfielder. You know, it's like Lumina says there. You have like 6 Caicedo, 8 Rice, and then 10 Bruno. You know what I mean? So that's why I find these debates quite difficult. You know what I mean? That's why I find these debates quite tough because they're so different. What I will say, and I think maybe this is where I think this is why Bruno probably is head and shoulders above the others, is even when Bruno was playing in midfield, his numbers were still ridiculous. When Bruno was playing in a position that wasn't his best position, he still delivered. And actually, he delivered more than I think we even kind of actually thought he was. Because you look at this season, I think he's created the most chances in the Premier League in a position where we go, look, where he gets around quite a bit, but it stifles his creativity somewhat. And if it did stifle his creativity, he was still more creative than any other player in the Prem. Do you know how ridiculous that is? And I've mentioned this so many times about Bruno, so many times, that I really do think it is going to be one of those ones where you don't know what you've got until, well, we don't know what we've got until we don't have it anymore. I think when he does eventually go, whether that is the end of the season, whether that is, you know, in a couple of seasons' time, whatever, we'll start looking at other players, not to necessarily put up the numbers that Bruno has put up, but something close to that. And they won't. And we'll go, man, Bruno was a bit of a machine, you know. Bruno was a bit of a, we kind of half realize it now, but I think those that are really, really, really critical of him and they just like don't like him for whatever reason, when he goes, I think they'll realize, holy shit, Bruno was doing a lot more than I even thought he was doing, or Bruno was contributing more to this team than I even realized. Because we kind of had that when he was out with that injury for a couple of weeks, right? We were looking at Mateus Cunha, weren't we? We were looking at Mateus Cunha going, Cunha, time for you to step up. You've got to fill that Bruno gap, and you've got to, you've got to try and do some of the stuff that Bruno was doing. And he did his best. People were like, oh, Cunha, oh, I'm not sure about that. Oh, I'm not sure if he can replace Bruno like that, because I don't think anyone really can. I don't think he can. Z says, I rate Bruno, but where was he in the Europa League final, Owen, against the shit Spurs? Z, you're doing what is known as the Cobby Manu argument, which is Cobby was never good because he played against Grimsby and we lost. You can always pick out a bad game or a bad result, especially with Man United. Holy shit. For the last 2 years, all we've been doing is putting in bad results and bad performances. By that metric, every player who is currently under contract to Manchester United should leave because we have lost games. We have put in poor performances. So I will never, ever, ever subscribe to that because it was done when they said it about Cobby, and I think it's silly if they say it about any other player. Yeah, but it's like that. It's like but Bruno was the captain when we finished 15th. You go, and so that makes him a bad player, does it? Well, he led us to the worst finish ever in Premier League history. Oh, so he's not good. I didn't realize that was the barometer for that was all Bruno's fault. You know what I mean? So I think that he's a top player. But like I said, I think that these debates are really difficult because they're just totally different players. And I try and look at it a bit more nuanced, because I think the idea of just blanket a midfielder, does that really exist anymore? Does, you know what I mean? If you put it this way, if you're asking someone, right, oh, you play football, where do you play? And you go, and they go, I'm a midfielder. There's a follow-up question to that, isn't there? You know what I mean? There's a follow-up, because you go, okay, like what type? Are you a attacking midfielder, defensive midfielder, you box to box? Like what do you do? Because it's kind of, I don't know. There just isn't just blanket midfielder anymore. There is, do you play as a 6? Do you play as an 8? Do you play as a 10? Because I almost look at people that are in the 10 and the 6. They're like completely different realities, aren't they? You know, Bruno is more of a he's more of a striker. I think you get him as close to goal as possible, and you know, you get magic made. So that's why I always struggle with these debates. But that's just me, you know, because I probably sometimes take it a little bit too literally. You know what I mean? Iris says not that deep. What in regards to the position? But I just think. I just don't know if I would describe Bruno Fernandes as a midfielder. That's what I mean. I'd just be a bit like, I'd be like, you know, what position? If someone said, what position does Bruno Fernandes play? I wouldn't say midfielder. I'd be like, well, he's attacking midfielder maybe, or a 10, shadow striker. I don't know if I would just go midfielder, you know, which is why I think it's difficult to be like, oh, who's a better midfielder, Rice or Bruno? And I'd be like, well, they're totally different. They do totally different jobs. The jobs that they both do spectacularly well, you know. Like for instance, Moises Caicedo, best defensive midfielder in the league, or best 6 in the league, clear. Like, but then if I was going, who's better, Caicedo or Bruno, that's when I would go. But I don't even see that as a comparison. You know what I mean? I don't see that as a comparison. Really. Daniel Luciano says, who has the most influence on the game? It's Bruno. What, in terms of, say, Bruno or Caicedo? Probably, well, you would probably say Bruno, but this is why some would say that's a bad thing, right? Because Bruno maybe has too much influence on the Man United team. Like, you take Bruno out of the team, that means we're going to lose. Caicedo, he's got a huge influence on that Chelsea team as well. If you take him out of that, you know, this is, and ultimately these things are subjective, aren't they? But unfortunately, with sort of subjective debates nowadays in the football sort of media space, if you have a different opinion to someone, they'll just scream at you. Sayo with a super chat says, Bruno is the best current attacking midfielder now. I'd say that certainly. I'd say that in the Prem, certainly best attacking midfielder. Hungriest Alpaca, what's your point, Offling? You, Owen, you're waffling again. I'm just trying to, again, this is literally Hungry Alpaca. You just made my point there, which is, unfortunately, if you try and have nuanced debate about these things, because they're not like just this person's better than that person, then you get that, which is, you're waffling. You're waffling. You're going, well, you know, imagine that you get that in one of your exam papers. Imagine you got that going, right, who's the better midfielder? Moises Caicedo, Bruno Fernandes, point, evidence, explain, plus. And then you're writing it out. You're trying to give a pros and cons on both sides, and trying to sort of say, well, comparison's difficult because one's a 6 and one's a 10, and influence on the team. One's the captains, one's not the captain. One's older, one's younger. But one's playing in a worse team. One players play in a better team. And then the response to that is, shut up, you're waffling. You go, okay. So the point is that it's a difficult one. You know what I mean? It's difficult. I think what I will say is, people that put down, this is what I would never get with the Bruno stuff at United, is I don't know why we do it, but we do. if anyone is good, we celebrate them for being good. And then for whatever reason, eventually we kind of turn on them for being good as well, which I don't really understand, but we do it anyway. So we do it to Bruno, or we do it to, we did it to Cobby for a period of time, right? No, he's not actually that good. He's no. We did it with like sort of David De Gea for a while, saves, and then he's not good anymore. We do it with everyone, and then they go, and then we're like, we should have been nice to them. Scott McTominay, my goodness me. I saw the thing the other day. Did you guys see this? Where McTominay was, he's in the Champions League press conference, and he was asked once again about United, and he said something to the effect of, I love Michael Carrick's a great guy. Michael Carrick's a great guy, and I'm really happy to see they're doing well. I'm paraphrasing or something like that. And I saw so many sort of quote tweets and replies from Manchester United fans going, McTominay just gets it, or good lad, or McTominay, great guy. And I thought to myself, where the fuck have you been? where have all of these people been? Because this is the same Scott McTominay that during his time at Manchester United got hounded by sections of the fan base, absolutely hounded of not good enough, rubbish. Even when he was coming on in Ten Hag's last season to score crucial goals off the bench, I don't care because he's still not good enough. And now suddenly we all like him again. You know what I mean? Oh, great guy. Well, you weren't saying that like a year ago, were you? Or 18 months ago. So it'll be the same for Bruno. Like it just will be the same for Bruno. It'll still get shit regardless of what he does, even if it's really, really positive. And eventually when he does go, it will be top captain, leader, warrior, that's what it is. Pyramid says, Owen, you're chronically online if you're quoting tweets from random people, probably bots on X. The problem is Pyramid Scheme, yeah. It wasn't bots. I'm talking quite significant people in the media. There's just no point, shouting out names or anything like that. But significant people. So it's not. And I remember we did this a few weeks ago with the Cunha thing. I think sometimes we do a bit of a disservice when we go, that's not real, or people don't have or share that opinion, because they do. It's like saying, there aren't parts of the fan base that don't like Bruno. There are. It's the same portion of people that Eric Ten Hag's a genius until he becomes a terrorist. They're like, Eric Ten Hag, he's got answer for crimes against football. And you go, you fucking crying when he got sacked, saying that what a terrible move Manchester United have made. Now it's crimes against football. So same for Ruben Amorim. You notice that as well. Ruben Amorim, he was Man United. You'll be sorry about this, and you've done it again. Blah blah blah. And now we've won a couple of games. I tell you what, that Ruben Amorim, he should be tried for crimes against football, crimes against United. Or Amorim was actually bad, and you go, this is the person. Like I saw, because he hasn't put out like a statement since he got sacked, and it's how could you do this to us? Who gives a fuck? Literally, who cares? But it's what we do as a fan base. You know what I mean? This is what we do. We sort of love until we don't have any more love to give, and then it kind of turns into sort of, hate. Doesn't it? You got to go, where did this come from? Where did this come from? Very, very odd. Very, very strange, isn't it? But it will be the same. It'll be the same. Excedra says, I don't know, Owen. I've been very consistent about Amorim for ages. It's not the normality through the fan base. Wow. Yeah. It's not. But I never said it was. I never said the whole fan base. But we all do it. We all. Again, we love people until we turn on them, or we've got, people will go down with the ship until it's underwater and then swim back out and said, I was never on that ship. You know what I mean? That's what will happen. It happened with. Now that I've sort of lived through it on here a few times, because when you're like when you're just a fan and you're not obviously doing this, you know, you don't sort of see it as much. But obviously, when you're doing shows and stuff or content every day, you're in it. You are. And now I've seen it with sort of Ten Hag and seen it with Amorim. I've realized that that's just how it is, unfortunately, with, you know, big majorities of the fan base. Should we say not everyone, but there are portions of the fan base that are like that, where it's just, they will not be told until afterwards, and then they'll pretend like they would never did that, and it's very, 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 very odd. But yes, that was the debate about whether Bruno is the best midfielder in the Prem, and just that, it's just a debate. It will never be. There's not going to be a factual correct or incorrect answer. I think if you're talking about some of the most influential attacking players, and some of the best and most complete players in the Premier League, I think you have to talk about Bruno Fernandes. If you're going to talk about that, as someone mentioned earlier on, when you're talking about influence on the game, influence on the team, numbers on the board, you know, he's at the top of all of those lists. Absolutely top of all those lists. Is he as pretty on the eye? Is he as technically sound as maybe some other players? No. But I think we've seen in just the last couple of games what Bruno Fernandes can offer when he's put in his best position. And even when he's not, and this is the sign of a good player, even when he's not in his best position, i.e. an 8, central midfield, still influences the game. If he's placed as a 6, still influences the game. If it's, you know, if it's, even when Ten Hag used to do it and play him right wing, which I hated as well, still would find a way to influence the game. And he's a top player. And I know people will disagree with this, but I will still stand by that. Any team in the world would have him, and he would get in, and he would do very, very well. If Bruno Fernandes played in the Liga at the moment, in Madrid or Barca, the fucking numbers he would put down would be ridiculous. You know, Bruno, he'd play in any team in the Prem, he'd get in and put down ridiculous numbers. Yeah, I think he would. Z says, not every team. I disagree. What team would Bruno Fernandes not get in the Premier League? Any team would have him. Any team would. Name a team that he wouldn't get in the Premier League. It could particularly with the teams this season in the Prem, yeah. Going with Arsenal not scoring goals, you think they wouldn't have Bruno Fernandes in that team? You know, Arsenal, their attacking players not scoring goals, not creating chances. Bruno, he'd go into Arsenal's team tomorrow. Bruno, he'd go into Man City's team tomorrow. Invisible Cloud says nonsense. And this is what I mean. This is when I get into, I think, the sort of Bruno, you know, sort of agenda, you know, because he would. He would. Like he genuinely would. Because when you put down those numbers and score those amount of goals, create those amounts of chances, you think Bruno Fernandes in a Man City team creating the chances for Erling Haaland, they wouldn't have that. Of course they would. Of course they would. You know, not every team out of possession. Most managers won't have him. Disagree. Did you see us at the weekend? Last 2 games, we've had like 30% possession, and Bruno Fernandes has arguably been one of our best players on the pitch in both games. Out of possession, he's fine. Out of possession, he covers a shit ton of ground. That's why he was in midfield. And if you're playing on the transition counter-attack, Bruno Fernandes, he's lethal. Look at the amount of goals Man United have scored on their counter-attack with Bruno. So any system you're playing, whether it's high possession, low possession, whether it's transition, whether it's total football, whether it's tiki-taka, he would get in. He would get in. You know, and this is when it goes back to, in my opinion, I think it just goes back to maybe because he's not the prettiest on the eye in terms of how he plays, or because maybe, you know, the complaining to the refs or the rolling on the floor or what have you. But he can do it all. He can do it all. He would get into any team in the Premier League or world football. And then you get the responses of, well, why has no one tried to buy him? Well, allegedly they have, and he's decided to stay. And secondly, we'll see this summer, won't we? If that release clause, gets activated. Because remember, this is the thing as well. You have to, these players have to kind of want to leave. Sometimes these big clubs, they won't go for players if they're not, if they're not interested. If they're not interested in moving. See, Ashley Williams says decided to stay. Cap. I'm telling, and remember, folks, these I got told a minute ago, these are just trolls. They don't exist or whatever. I'm telling you, when Bruno eventually does leave or whatever, the revisionism on him will be ginormous. The revisionism on him will be ginormous. I am telling you, because he will leave and it will be, oh man, we didn't really replace Bruno, or oh man, actually we didn't give Bruno a lot. If we're doing this with Scott McTominay going to Napoli and winning the league, just wait and see what happens when Bruno leaves and goes somewhere and does well, because he will. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. Look, he can do it all. Couldn't even show up in a Europa League final. All right. I mean, it's just it's crazy, because again, by that logic, everyone that played in that final should not play for Manchester United. By that logic, anyone that's played in any of those games, like when we played Grimsby, they shouldn't, they shouldn't be at the club anymore. It's the same with Cobby. Like Court Stars says here, I remember that as well. I remember saying it at that time. Remember the whole Donny van der Beek stuff? Donny's better than Bruno. Get Donny in instead of Bruno. Free Van der Beek. And then he came in, and then he would go, oh, I can't really do what Bruno does, can he? We did it with Cunha a couple of weeks ago. Actually, Cunha can't really do what Bruno does. And I was defending Matheus Cunha. People go, oh, he's not creative. He's got fucking like goals and assists in his last 2 games. It's just, it's mad. And then they always try and like cherry pick these weird things. Yeah, but what about out of, like earlier on, what about out of possession? You've got some of the best, running stats in the Prem. Yeah, but what about this? He's got some of the most assists in the Prem. Yeah, what about chances created? Got some of the most chances created in the Prem. Yeah, but what about this? What about he's the captain and we lost this game? Okay. We've lost a lot of games, By the way, we lost a lot of games with Harry Maguire as captain. And the same Maguire that actually yesterday, when we were talking about whether he should stay or not, there were still people going, actually, he should stay. Leader. I think that I agree with that, Lyle. I do. I agree with that. Bruno is underrated because of how overhated he is. I agree. And Meron says that saying that Cunha isn't creative is a lie. Tell the chat, because, hey, that was a big, I forget which game it was. A couple of games ago in the pre-match, there was a big thing about Cunha not being creative. And then he came on against City, got an assist and should have got another one. It was incorrectly ruled out for offside. Again, it will be the same with Bruno. It's the same. Same with any player that's for whatever reason kind of overhated in the fan base. Is they leave and then we then sort of revise about how great they are and then pretend that that we used to really rate them when they didn't. So again, same with McTominay. McTominay's got to go. And I wasn't opposed to him leaving, by the way, McTominay. But I remember when he was at the club. I remember saying that he was a great option to have off the bench scoring goals, but we didn't like that. And then he goes, and now we really like him, And it will be the same with Bruno. I'm telling you, it will be the same with Bruno. But we shall see. But anyway, guys, look at that. Yeah, an hour flew by. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. What's on tap? It's Thursday, so that means What the Devil coming up. I'm not sure what time, around lunchtime. And also, there will be a Trafford Talk this evening with James and myself. Plenty to discuss. So be sure to join us then. And of course, if anything else happens in between, some transfer drama or what have you, we'll be here as well for that. Big up to everyone for tuning in this morning. And we'll speak to you again very soon. I'm out of here. Peace.